peace, God's mercy, and God's blessings upon you. Our woke writers, welcome to today's episode of the Strange Ink Show, where we are going to be talking about the rebel writer within us.
Your voice has power.
Sometimes, and many times as women, we fall into this pattern of really caring what people think. And there is a psychological background to this, when we see a negative comment or a negative review on any of the work that we've done, that's the thing which stands out most to us, right? Despite all of the amazing comments that we've come across and all of the beautiful words people have said, that one thing can really make a person feel like, oh my gosh, that's what you think about. So I wanted to speak to the writer and the woman who might have a natural disposition for pleasing people, and that is something that we all have within us to an extent, and it's something that it's beautiful when it's done from a place of integrity and not self-abandonment, right? So meaning integrity within the self, that you're choosing to give to someone because it's from a place of power and peace and security, which is very different to giving to someone and pleasing a person from a place of abandoning the self, because what all that comes from is insecurity and fear, and you end up resenting, which means victim anger. So you end up like not liking that person even though you've done so much to give to them, because there's kind of like this expectation as well. So when it comes to writing, it is so difficult to be a writer and a people pleaser and then think that, okay, the words that I write are gonna have an impact. Like what will people think about this if they read this, right? It will have an impact, and that's really, you're hoping that it will make a positive difference in people's lives. But what are people going to think when they read this? Are they going to not like me anymore? Are they going to reject me? Because I think that's one of the most difficult things a person can go through, rejection, because it is being likened to actually physical pain, the pain of rejection. So if someone doesn't like our work, we kind of feel like, okay. And that is why when we do our first draft, for example, or the first few drafts of any book that we're working on, we do it with the door closed, right? The metaphoric door closed, because we really are putting our ideas together, right? So what happens when you've written and you're writing and these thoughts keep coming to you, like, oh my gosh, this person will, what if someone thinks this, if I've written this, what will happen if this, if I've written this, what will people think, and all of these things. But then that piece that you're writing is true to you, right? So what happens? What do we do? What do we do at this time when we feel so overwhelmed with what people think, but then we want to do the most truest thing that we believe in and our mode of expression, which is writing? What do we do? And this is where the rebel comes, right? This is where the rebel within us comes. And some people have coined this rebel within us as being the inner warrior, right? Because there's a time to be kind and compassionate and empathetic, but there's also a time to stand very true in what we believe and not care if someone doesn't agree with it, or whether they do or they don't agree with it, because you have that kind of richness within the self, right? So this is kind of like the self-rich rebel within the self, and I really hope that we can nurture that as much as possible, and that comes with doing things which are difficult, like putting ourselves out there in places where you kind of like get the feedback, you kind of get the kind of the hardship that comes with rejection. You kind of face it, you build thick skin, but it's not thick skin to a way that you're desensitized and you just can't stand anybody, but it's thick skin in a way that, okay, you believe what you believe and I believe what I believe. Subhanallah. And as Muslims, that is something that we've been taught to do, right? To have that strength within ourselves, that we believe what we believe in our religion, and you believe what you believe, and there's that, right? So there's like I said, this rebel that has to be within us. And how does it feel? How does it feel when we're in this space of rebellion? And that the thoughts that might come to our mind are when, for example, someone gives you advice on something that you've read, and then you think to yourself like, okay, that doesn't work for me, right? That advice is great and that's what you believe, but that doesn't work for me. That's not the kind of story that I'm trying to tell. That's not my message, right? That's not my theme, because you know yourself, right? So no one else knows you better than you do. So that might be one way that the rebel, you can hear it within yourself. Another way is this works for me and I'm okay with this, even if you're not. No matter how experienced you are in your industry or whatever you do, this works for me and I am okay with that, even if you're not, right? So these are just some of, like I said, the words and voices. And finally, the feeling that you feel when you have to nurture this rebel, is that your heart doesn't flutter, right? So sometimes we might say our truth to someone and our voice shakes. And that is not a reason, even if our voice shakes, not to say the truth. But sometimes we'll say something to someone and our voice will shake. But when we've nurtured this rebel within us, your voice, not only does your voice not shake, but your heart doesn't flutter. And you feel like, okay, I feel it really is a kind of self-richness, right? It's a self-richness that you feel within yourself. You feel content. And finally, another feeling that you have is like your heart doesn't flutter and your mind is focused. You don't feel foggy headed. You don't feel confused. You kind of feel like, I know what I want and I know this is right for me, and it's okay if you don't, but my heart doesn't flutter right now and my mind is focused and I know this is good for me. Thank you for your advice. And that's it. It's just advice. You don't take it as a sense of like attack on your self-worth. You don't take it as an attack on your work. You don't take it as in anything more than just advice. And you feel like, okay, noted. You know what I mean? So it's an amazing feeling to have. And I really hope that we can nurture that rebel within us and listen to it when it comes and not be afraid to embrace it. Right? Embrace that rebel, especially as writers, because writing is something which really is depending on a person's taste. A person might be into your writing and they might not be into another person's, but then a person might totally not like a person's writing and then they might be into another writing. I think you're getting my point, right? So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode and thank you so much for being here. And as always, let's put our hands on our hearts and let's say it all together, inshallah. My voice has power. My voice has power. Hi there, we really hope you enjoyed today's episode of The Strange Ink Show, and we just wanted to let you know that we are doing free 15-minute consultations to talk about your book. So definitely book your spot. They are going quickly, and also leave us a rating or review on wherever you listen to your podcast platforms. That would really, really help us to get the word out. And thank you so much for being here with us today. Have a wonderful and beautiful day.
Remember, your voice has power.